Welcome to the world of probiotic foods. This is Cultured Food Life with your host, Donna Schwenk.
Welcome, everybody, and today's show is about hormones. And when hormones go crazy, you go crazy. And believe me, I know. I've had my share of sickness and disease and tears about it, but with a really grateful heart, I found incredible wellness. I've struggled to find answers to health problems that perplex my family and me for, many years. And then when I tuned my mind and actions to wellness and watched the answers I was seeking come to me, it was a thrill and a joy. And it's really what's propelled me here. These answers have come to me in some of the most surprising ways you can imagine. And one of the ways that it came to me, that is what the show is about, is that it came to me in a form of angels that I call microbes. I learned to make foods that were infused with probiotic organisms that changed my food. And when I consumed them, it changed me profoundly. They were the answers to my prayers, and they have taught me many, many things that is beyond anything that I could have ever imagined. And very slowly, when I found all these answers that I was looking and found myself well, I very slowly started sharing this with a few friends. And then I watched them find answers to the health crisis they were facing. And slowly it began to spread. People were getting well, telling their friends about these things that we had learned. They were begging me to write a book, build a website, and I flatly refused for about 10 years. I said, nope, I'm not doing it, guys. And fast forward 15 years later, and here I am, helping you because I just couldn't keep it to myself anymore. It was just too big. It was just too wonderful. And I really wanted people to be well. Wellness is supposed to be the norm, and one that I will spend the rest of my life helping people obtain. And I'm addicted to feeling good, and I'm really addicted to helping you find that too, because when people feel good, they light up their lives. They help one another, and they become this force of wellness in the world that it becomes like a lighthouse standing in the middle of something shining, and people find their way to it. And it's just so needed in today's life because so many people are sick. It just breaks my heart to see even the kids are sick. It used to be that the adults would get diseases and for the most part, the kids would just get minor things. But nowadays, even the kids and teenagers are really sick. And it's just not supposed to be that way. As a woman who feels way too much, and as my dad always told me, I was way too sensitive for my own good, I really believe that it's that sensitivity that I have that has helped me find the secrets to the life inside of me that holds all the answers to wellness. Women's hormones are such a complex and beautiful thing, but if you take those very same hormones and ignore them, and they will get your attention. If you're misusing your body in some way, you're going to get symptoms, whether it be PMS or perimenopause or adrenal fatigue or menopausal symptoms, and they can wreak havoc on your life. A woman's ovaries are responsible for making the hormones progesterone and estrogen. And if the bacteria in your system that lives near your reproductive organs changes to a harmful pathogenic type of bacteria, your ovaries are likely to become hindered and may underproduce or overproduce a certain hormone, causing all kinds of hormonal imbalances, making you miserable, making you suffer needlessly. And honestly, it's just a warning sign from your body that it needs your help. Your blood sugar, your sex hormones, and your adrenals are a three-legged stool. And when one struggles, so do the other two. They all work together, and you need all of them in sync to feel really good all the time. And that creates this wellness that we're all seeking. So let me explain this some more. So let's say you have some imbalances in your gut flora. You and I are 100 trillion bacteria. And when they become unbalanced by not enough of the good guy bacteria, then things like harmful pathogens and yeast like candida starts to spread and grow in your gut. And that good bacteria gets smaller and diminishes, and then your body's detoxification system becomes really hindered. Hormones that are normally eliminated through the gut and liver stay circulating in your system, and then you get all kinds of hormonal imbalances that make your life miserable. And believe me, it can be bad. And you may not even know what's going on, but it can cause all kinds of symptoms. And it's something you really need to pay attention to. Hormones are really, they're broken down and detoxified in different ways. And one of the ways that it happens is what everybody knows is the liver. But the second way it detoxifies you is in the colon. When the digestive tract is out of balance, your estrogens are especially not detoxed properly, leading to symptoms of estrogen dominance. The most important step to support your gastrointestinal function is to rebalance your gut flora and rebuild it if you need to, and especially clear out the pathogens and the yeast. And I have found this step to be the most profound way in dealing in any hormonal balance, and especially women's hormones, whatever they may be. Okay, let me explain. Eating cultured foods, which are probiotic foods, will help clear out the pathogens, the parasites, the bacteria, and viruses. Things like Gardnerella, Proteus, Chlamydia, Campylobacter. There's all different kinds of things, even Salmonella. Those harmful bacteria need to be cleared out. And the best way that can be done is to have enough good bacteria that they can't survive. The good bacteria will dominate and will clear out those pathogens. And then your hormones will start to balance again. There are also the favorite urinary tract bacteria that cause yeast infections and bladder infections, and that can get out of balance as well. And when that happens, you have a hormonal imbalance. And often people will get yeast infections around women's menstrual cycles because that's when estrogen is at its highest. And so you get often yeast infections will happen around that time. And if you do get that, that's also a sign that your good bacteria is probably out of balance because your yeast are growing and taking over and causing yeast infections. When you have a lot of good bacteria in your gut and in your body, all over your body, it will crowd out the yeast. It will crowd out the candida and push it back into its rightful place. And then those problems with yeast infections will subside. It's really important to bring your body into balance. Okay, so let's think about this like a science project. Your body gives you feedback every day and lets you know what you're doing. Most of the time, we don't pay attention to this. But I really encourage you to start paying attention and to make this a lifelong way of living in your life. Your body is a reflection of what you're thinking, what you're putting in your body, how you're handling stress, and the daily things going on in your life. It talks to you every single day, and I love that. That is it's become this daily conversation between me and my body. I'm so sensitive to when I don't feel good or when I do feel good, that when something slightly gets out of balance, I notice right away. And I often led to the understanding of what's happening. And it's kind of an amazing thing for me because it's a little bit like having a friend. My body is my friend, and it tells me, Donna, this is happening because of this. And just by paying attention, I start seeing the signals of what's creating the disease in my body. Let me explain that some more. For instance, if I start focusing on something that upsets me and I do it long enough, I will send a signal to my vagus nerve to create stress hormones. And then I start creating dis-ease in my body because my body will only put up with so much stress before it starts to create signals that I've reached my limit. And the vagus nerve is the longest nerve in the body, which originates in the brain as the cranial nerve, and it travels down the neck and then passes around the digestive system, the liver, the spleen, the pancreas, and the heart and lungs. The nerve is a major player in the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the rest and digestion part, and it's the opposite of the nervous system, which is the flight or fight. And one of the most interesting roles of the vagus nerve is that it essentially reads the gut microbiome and initiates a response to modulate inflammation based on whether or not it detects pathogenic viruses or non-pathogenic organisms in the body. In this way, the gut micro can have an effect on your mood, your stress levels, and overall inflammation. So what this means is, and it all works together, guys. We're not just what we eat. Our body's made of that, but that's not the only player. Stress is the player. When you think thoughts and get stressed out, your body initiates chemical reactions in your body that create inflammation, that creates disease. And all of these things happen. And it does the same thing if you're eating the wrong types of foods, if you're not getting enough exercise, if you're genuinely not paying attention, your body creates what we call dis-ease. I can get all worked up over things happening negative in my day. If things are happening that upset me, and by the end of the day, my body's had enough and it will let me know. So I work very hard to calm down, to look at the situation from a third perspective. And I have learned that my thoughts are a huge part of my health and wellness. If I don't pay attention to that, I'll start feeling exhausted. My stomach will get upset. And then I can just feel everything in my body is letting me know that this is not the way to wellness. So I have to calm down my mind. And you can do that through prayer meditation, which I do every day. Yoga, exercise is a fantastic way to get out of my head. And then all of a sudden, everything starts to calm down. Everything starts to work better. And even the situations in my life get better when I control what I'm thinking about. Because most of the time, the things that we're thinking about are just stories we're telling ourselves. And yes, things negatively can happen. But for the general part of my life, a lot of those things that are happening haven't happened yet. I'm just thinking they're going to happen. And so I create all kinds of inflammation in my body from stress hormones when nothing has really even happened yet. So that's another thing you need to pay attention to. My body is such a good friend to me, and I feel so good all the time. I've conditioned myself to wellness. And now when I start creating that disease in my body, and with my own thoughts or with the food I'm eating or something that's happening, I get an immediate response. So I pay attention, guys, because if not, I want to feel good. I remember what it was like to not feel good, and it was horrible, and I wasn't living. I was existing, and I never want to go back to that. So I pay attention to what's happening in my body, and it lets me know all the time. It's an interesting thing. I was laying in bed one night talking to my daughter and was telling her that I'd caused my own suffering one day, which made my body send me a message that it didn't like what I was stressing about. And I was talking to her about it, and I said, I released all that worry. And I remember there were tears and everything, and I prayed for wisdom, and man, those answers came swift and fast. And that happens to me all the time, because when you get when you get to this point where you feel good all the time and you want to stay well, you've got to condition every part of your body to do that. Your hormones, your thoughts, your food you eat, your exercise, everything about your body is going to demand a little bit more attention. And then you're going to change into somebody else because you feel so well, you want more energy to do more things in your life. And that's what happened to me. Before I found these foods and before I started feeling better, I was just getting through my days. I wasn't living anymore. And when I felt good, guys, it was like I had all this energy. I had all this joy in my life, and I wanted to do more with my life. And I felt more love for people. And everything started changing. And I never, ever wanted to lose that again because of the amount of energy that I had and the amount of joy for life I had. But I had to keep up with that because I had created that wellness. And in order to keep up with that, I had to change a lot of things in my lifestyle and pay attention to my body. So let's talk about the stress in your hormones. Let's see. During your fertile years, you were meant to have a peak of 100 milliliters of estrogen on day 9 and on day 22 of your cycle. Progesterone, on the other hand, only peaks once on day 22. And it should reach a level of 20 to 100 times as high as estrogen, but only on day 22. So you're going to have a lot of circulating estrogen and a lot of progesterone, and your gut and liver regulate this by getting rid of the excess in your bodies because you're going to have a lot of it circulating around. Our bodies are very, very intricate systems, and they communicate all the time with everything in our bodies. There's this whole universe going on inside of us that we're not even aware of. We take for granted all the systems that function, the liver, the gut, the heart. I mean, just even how your eye works is an amazing, complicated system of how your body does that. But we kind of take that for granted. For example, the health of your gut affects your moods and your immune system, not just your digestive function. Therefore, in most cases of PMS, we need to look for what else is out of balance in the body. Stress, gut health, nutrition, activity levels, liver function, as all of these are going to affect the hormone expression and how important, and more importantly, how you feel during your day. Stress has a profound effect on your hormone balance. It reduces progesterone production, can raise prolactin levels, increase androgen levels, and really impact thyroid hormone production. If your hormones are out of balance, you'll experience classic symptoms of PMS, or menopausal symptoms will get worse, or perimenopausal symptoms will get worse, and then you've got to pay attention to that stress, and you'll see that. I've seen that again and again with people and with myself. Everything gets worse. But after your body starts to slow down and you start to go into perimenopause or menopause, and the ovaries are done with their cycles of estrogen and progesterone production, the adrenal glands, the hormone production is meant to kick in and make up for the deficit. And after that ends, your adrenals can still keep your hormone levels regulated. So your adrenals work harder, and if you have worn them out, they're going to have to work really hard to keep everything running smoothly. And that's what happens to a lot of women during menopause and perimenopause. Their adrenals are trying to make up for the deficiency of estrogen and progesterone, but because people have worn out their adrenal glands, they get hot flashes and horrible menopausal symptoms, and they feel miserable because their body can't keep up. And that's because their adrenals are really overworked and stressed. I see it all the time with people, especially with the hot flashes. That's a huge signal. When you have hot flashes, your body's trying to get rid of that. It's trying to heat your body up to get rid of all those extra hormones and sweat them out of your skin, because they've got too many hormones in there that are unbalanced. And if you're in balance, you can also, in your gut, can harbor all kinds of harmful bacteria and viruses, and especially candida. Especially when your hormones are imbalanced, candida loves to thrive and grow. And candida can I've got some really interesting things to say about that, and we'll have to do a show about it. But that's a really important thing to understand, because candida is meant to live in small parts of your body. You're meant to have small amounts of it, but not large amounts. When you don't have enough good gut bacteria, candida gets a foothold and moves over and starts taking away space from good bacteria, and grows and multiplies, and it spreads it's got long fingers that spread out throughout the central nervous system in places where it's not meant to go, and may make you very, very sick. And the way to keep that under control is to have lots of good bacteria in your gut, and that pushes candida back to its rightful place and keeps it from growing and multiplying and making you sick. Your body cannot regulate your hormones if your gut is messed up. And that's just because 50% of those hormones in your body are going to be eliminated through your gut. 50% of your detoxification system in your body is done through your gut, not just your liver. And so if your gut is messed up, you're going to have some problems. And it's not a hard thing if you pay attention to fixing your gut. And it's basically what my site and all my books are about. And let me tell you what's helped me. Let me tell you what's helped me keep my hormones on course. And I'm pretty fierce about this regimen because I'm 57 right now. So I think I'm going through menopause now, but I'm not done with it. I'm hoping that we'll be done soon. But I haven't had nearly as many problems as a lot of people have. But at the same time, it's prolonged, and most people go through much younger than me. And I don't know if that's due to my gut and the good bacteria is why it's taking me longer to go through menopause, or if it's just a hereditary thing. I don't know. But whatever it is, I do think it has something to do with the way that I eat and the way that I live my life. But here's what I do. This is what I do. I don't really get hot flashes. I think I've had 3 maybe, but they weren't really. They just felt a little warm. But one of the things that has helped me with that is kombucha, because it's such a powerful assistant to the liver to detoxify you. And so I always have 16 ounces of kombucha every day because it really helps you with hormones, especially perimenopause and menopause, because things get out of balance and you don't need all those extra hormones. And so your body's trying to eliminate them. And so the liver's trying to do it and it gets burdened. And then if your gut's messed up, then it's overworked. But if you have something that assists your liver, it really has made a huge difference for me. And I really love how well it works. And I can tell that it's working. It's a powerful drink. And, even 4 to 8 ounces a day is terrific. And I tend to do it. Sometimes I'll do it in the morning. Sometimes I do it at night. Sometimes I do it both times. But any time I'm under stress, I always reach for kombucha because that is always a very powerful thing that helps me get through, especially times with adrenal stress. I've noticed we were out somewhere the other day and I got really tired because we'd been walking all day. We hadn't eaten very much, and then we ate and I felt myself really fatigued and I didn't know why. And we had, my daughter actually found a kombucha bar where they had all these different kombuchas on tap. And I sat there because we were waiting for my husband to pick us up because we were downtown and he was somewhere else. So he was going to drop by and pick us. So we stayed there and I drank 24 ounces. And by the time he got there, I felt like $1 million. And all I'd had was kombucha. And so I talked that off as being adrenal stress. And adrenal stress was probably due to too many hormones in my system that were trying to try to detoxify me from things. And I was stressed and tired. And that just did the job. I felt great. I often use it for headaches if I ever get headaches, which I don't get very often. That's a wonderful thing because often your liver is congested from that. And kombucha really helps me with that. It's just a wonderful drink and I love it. It's a fermented tea if you're not familiar with it. And check out my site at culturedfoodlife.com and I teach you how to make it on there and got tons and tons of information on there about kombucha. And it's one of my go-to drinks that I have every day. The other thing I have every day is a cup of kefir somehow, some way. Kefir is a fermented, similar to yogurt, but much, much stronger. And it can be non-dairy or dairy. I'm kind of into almond yogurt right now. And I have that every day, usually a cup, sometimes more, because sometimes I'll make a dessert with it. And I got so many recipes, I make it all the time. So there's a lot of different ways I have it. But lately I've been making a green matcha tea smoothie with it. I'll put some kefir in a blender with some green matcha tea and some vanilla and a couple other things in it, kind of just blend it up with ice. And it's one of my favorite things in the morning to have. And I'll sometimes make a green mint smoothie is one of my favorite ones too, because whenever you have some greens in your diet, you are reducing inflammation in your body. I always try to have a salad every day or a handful of greens in my smoothie, or because there's been a lot of studies done on just how powerful greens are in your diet. And they're prebiotics that help feed the good bacteria in your gut. So that's one of the ways they reduce the inflammation is by allowing the inflammation to calm down, but also increasing the amount of good bacteria in your gut because it's food for them. It's fiber. And although we don't get a lot of calories from the fiber, your bacteria does. And it eats it and grows and multiplies and helps you. So it's a great idea to have at least a salad or a green smoothie or something in your diet where you have a handful of greens every day, or maybe 2 handfuls. A little bit more, the better. Last but not least is my cultured vegetables, which I love. And I usually, and you guys, you don't need a lot. I have a couple spoonfuls a day, sometimes more. And one of my favorite ways is to make, I have a new Spanish kimchi recipe, and that you can see that on YouTube. It's a video. And I'll toast some sourdough bread in the morning. I'll put a little goat cheese on it, and I'll put some of that cultured veggies on there. And it can be kimchi. It can be any kind of cultured vegetables. I've got tons of recipes. I love to have that for breakfast. And it's such a powerful, powerful bacteria in there that is so helpful for detoxification, and especially when it comes to these hormones that need to be eliminated through the gut and through the liver. I can't say enough about them. I have a strawberry kraut and a orangeade kraut, and I have all these different pickles, and there's just a million ways to make cultured vegetables. You can just culture just about any kind of vegetable. I do tomatoes and asparagus, and just a couple spoonfuls a day it's just a lot, guys. It's like as many probiotics in a supplement bottle. in a couple spoonfuls of cultured vegetables. And it's a powerful way to assist your body in helping you eliminate those extra hormones. All of these things that I've talked about, the kombucha, the kefir, and the cultured vegetables, what I call the trilogy. And all of them will flush extra estrogen and help regulate your hormones. It's really important what else you're eating too, because especially with hormone health, sugar and things like that, processed foods are really going to be hard on you because your body's just struggling already. And so eliminating those and maybe replacing them with prebiotic foods, which are fruits and vegetables, and really balancing what you eat and eating healthy whole foods. And you guys, I'm not telling anybody how to eat because everybody's different and everything works different for everybody. But I do believe that eating whole, real foods is the key. And whatever feels good to you is great. Just stay away from the processed stuff and the junk food. It just doesn't work. The body doesn't like it. And once you get clean and healthy and you start regulating your hormones, you're going to want those less and less. And you're going to realize how much they affect you when you start eating them. You're not going to want them anymore because you're going to want to maintain your wellness because it feels so good to have that. Things like nuts and seeds are great because they feed your good bacteria and make it grow. They crowd out those pathogens, and they allow your body to do what it normally does every day of your life, and that's take care of you. It is your home here on earth. It is one of the most important things you can do because if you don't feel good, nothing else matters. You can't maintain your good relationships. You can't keep your job going and keep a healthy living because you feel so bad. You're not living anymore. And that's why I kind of do what I do because I remember that. I remember what that felt like. And I never, ever want to go back to that life. You know, I kind of freak out now when I don't feel good because I feel so good most of the time. And it feels like the world is coming to an end, but it's very short-lived for me if I do have anything wrong. And it's a lesson for me, and it usually has something to do with what I've been thinking and feeling. And as I talk more on these channels about what I do, I want to encourage you to make these things a part of your life. And I've been thinking about adding some recipes and maybe just showing you what I eat in a day. And I have done that on my site at culturedfoodlife.com. And I have it on my membership site. I have videos of what I do and lots of fun things. And when you're trying to change your life, you need somebody to help and inspire you, encourage you to make it normal. And in the beginning, I didn't have that. Everybody thought I was crazy making cultured foods. And I was kind of all alone in this little fermented world that I lived in. I used to call it my own little world. But it's because it made all the difference for me. And when something makes you well, you pay attention. And you never want to go back to the life you had. So I encourage you to hang out with me wherever you can. If it's on my website, on my Facebook page, on my YouTube page. I just want to encourage you to be well, to live your life to the fullest, to love getting up every morning, to feel good, to love your brothers and sisters, love your family and friends, and make your life count for something. And when you feel good, it happens naturally. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week. And I hope you'll check out these foods. And I hope your hormones will regulate and you'll feel fantastic. And before you know it, your whole life will change. Have a wonderful week, guys. Thanks for listening.